Hi, I'm Stephanie Lafazanos, and I get asked the question, what is somatic therapy? A lot these days. So I'm going to share a little bit more about that. So as we know, there's a lot more attention to mental health and trauma these days, which is absolutely amazing. We're all becoming a little bit more trauma informed, and even I, in my training, my somatic experiencing training, which I've just graduated from my second level, I'm starting to realize the extent to which I have also been in different trauma cycles like fight, flight, freeze, or appease my whole life, and I didn't even really know about it. So that's why I feel it's really important to educate a little bit more about this. So somatic therapy is known as a type of therapy that is really good for working with trauma. So trauma is a moment in time when the body or the nervous system became overwhelmed from a stimulus and that deemed that it was not safe. And so the nervous system went into fight, freeze, collapse, or appease. Now, the issue with the natural instinct of the body is that these responses are meant to protect us in the moment, and they absolutely do protect us. But it's difficult to engage with life with ease if these trauma responses are not fully processed or fully resolved. And that's a little bit where humans and animals differ. Animals will kind of allow the trauma to go through their nervous system, and then they will either survive from whatever it was and go on with their life. It can get stuck in animals too, but we tend to get these trauma responses stuck, which leave us feeling hypervigilant or shut down, or just not able to go back to being ourselves. And trauma often has the effect of taking away a feeling of being alive, or of inhibiting us from being able to be really present in the present moment. So it's like a trauma unresolved can repeat over and over and over again. I see this a lot with the women I work with, especially around patterns of intimacy and sexuality, which is an area that I specialize in. So somatic therapy, often a way that I use to describe somatic therapy is like most people have heard of psychotherapy. That's a top-down approach. So starting with the thought and the minds and cognition and beliefs, and then emotions, and then tying into the body. Whereas somatic therapy is a neurophysiological approach to healing. So it's a bottom-up approach. So we start with the body and the nervous system and the feelings and the sensations. So soma, which was a word that kind of became more popularized in the 1970s, refers to the feelings and the sensations. And you may have heard the saying, you got to feel it to heal it. And that is the case. When it comes to trauma, cognitive, like cognitive behavioral therapy and other types of therapy can be effective, but they can give you an understanding of why you're traumatized, but the tools don't entirely exist in talk therapy to process the trauma all the way through the nervous system and through the body in its safe release. So I am going to describe for you a model of embodied therapy or somatic therapy and what that contains. So one of the first things that we do in somatic therapy is we strengthen somatic resources. Somatic resources are the awareness of your body, how you're feeling, and how you're sensing yourself. The ability to ground, so using gravity to feel the ground, and yielding, which is being able to receive support, either from, for example, right now, I can notice my back being supported by the chair. I notice my butt on the chair. I feel where my sit bones are on the chair. I'm also noticing my feet on the ground and my feet rested in the position that they are. I'm noticing my arms relaxing on the chair. So yielding can be all the ways that we receive support and sort of like being held or comforted. Strengthening the boundaries is a somatic resource. Conscious breathing, bringing awareness into how you're breathing, because often trauma will stick in our breath into shallow breathing patterns or not a full breath. Somatic resources are empowerment and choice, reaching for connection and support from another person, asking for support, asking for what you need is a somatic resource, as well as co-regulation. Co-regulation is when you're being with somebody who feels calm and who is really, really present. I find that's the most important thing, is being present. When I'm able to be very, very present for myself, that's helpful. And in sessions, when I'm able to be very, very present and aware of my own nervous system, another person can then co-regulate with me. In fact, that is how the nervous system develops as children. We co-regulate with our parents. So that is why it's so important to have parents who learn how to calm themselves and are more present and aware in their bodies. It helps the children to be more present in their bodies. In a somatic, embodied trauma treatment, we recognize that the body holds the memory of what happened in that original wound. And so we move very, very slowly. We slow everything down and we kind of bring it under a microscope. And we do very, very small movements, which we use kind of models called titration and pendulation. So that's little bits at a time, slowly. And we go in, maybe into a trigger feeling, and then out of it into a more resourced, calm, grounded, safe feeling in the body. So there's these different ways we work to gradually become aware of what the triggered sensations are, because the triggered sensations can be very uncomfortable, and this is often something that we try to avoid as opposed to feeling. So by practicing titration and pendulation models, we're able to slowly, safely, a little bit at a time. I kind of describe it like letting some of the steam out and letting your body explore these triggered responses in the body in a way that feels safe, where you can really contain it with the help of a therapist or a professional. We also reclaim healing movement in the body. So during a moment of trauma, there may have been an attempt to fight, flight, freeze, collapse, or appease. However, those responses can be interrupted by what's happening in the trauma itself. So, for example, if you were protecting yourself from someone, there could be a movement like this that wants to process itself through the body, where you weren't able to do this to protect yourself, but that's what the nervous system wanted to do. It wanted to do this. It wanted to protect itself. So we explore these movements of what wanted to happen. In that way, we find reparative experience and the expression of that experience through the body. Then you get a very somatic or felt sense of what the body naturally wanted to do to help you to survive in that moment, which helps to complete the process. Doing that helps to have somatic release. So this is allowing sensations to naturally sequence, like to have releasing emotions, to have trembling, to have shaking, to have a sound come out, whatever was needed in the moment, whatever way that the nervous system wants to release. Often I'll really pay attention to when a person naturally does a deep breath. That is the way that a body, most bodies, really like to, that's a sign of releasing stress and coming back into a calmer nervous system. And then there's an integration of the new experience when you experience when you're able to go into maybe uncomfortable feelings, but then take yourself back to safety, reclaim healing movements, have somatic release. Then you can take the time to integrate the embodied experience and make meaning of it. It's an amazing tool that I've been learning, Somatic Experiencing, developed by Peter Levine. And it's been so effective at helping some of my clients. For example, working with clients who, for example, go into freeze. I think freeze is one of those ones that is hard to detect because we don't all know the signs of freeze. I, for example, have been learning that I've been going into freeze my whole life and I didn't even know that I was going into freeze. So that might look like feeling confused or not knowing what you're feeling, or like this feeling of being above your body and looking down at your body. So disassociation can be part of the freeze response. Feeling numb can be part of the freeze response. So I've experienced some of these things, especially in intimate contexts, which make it very, very difficult to connect. So when we go into these nervous system responses, if they're incomplete, it can make connection so, so difficult. That is why I'm happy to announce that I am leading the Sensual Wisdom for Women Embodiment School, and we're going to be focusing on sensuality and sexuality and healing trauma from the nervous system using powerful tantric methods and also somatic practices. So our course has just been kind of updated. I've extended it to be 12 months long, and therefore the monthly rate has gone down to $65 a month and $85 a month if you want extra one-on-one support. So there's a couple little changes I made in the program today, and I so look forward to working with you if you are noticing that you're going through intimacy patterns and trauma patterns and relationships, especially having to do with closeness and sexuality, from past abuses or whatever. I say, I notice that you don't have to have a big T trauma to experience trauma in sexual and intimate related experiences. You can have a lot of little t traumas, tons of little t traumas, which we all have around sexuality because it's so taboo, can lead to big T trauma. It can be a culmination of things that you've experienced in your life that cause shutdown. So you might be wondering, I wonder why I haven't been sexually assaulted or sexually abused, but there's been a lot of little T traumas that have culminated in a big T. I also believe that we can carry trauma from past lives, and so that you might be here coming to experience your divine feminine in this lifetime to heal your body and your sexuality, to be able to feel the life force moving through you. And that is exactly what the tantric healing and the somatic healing is so amazing at. So please visit my website, wildlywoman.com, if you want to learn more about the Sensual Wisdom for Women Embodiment School. We start Wednesday, November 15th in 30 p.m. PST, Pacific Standard Time. And just visit wildlywoman.com to learn about registration and to even book me for a free 30-minute consultation. If it's something that you think you might want to do, I can chat with you and see if the program is a right fit for you. So visit me at wildlywoman.com to learn more about the Sensual Wisdom for Women Embodiment School. And I look forward to sharing much, much more about somatic and tantric practices with you.